Jujutsu Kaisen has been on top of everything from fights to animation to deep character moments. Jujutsu Kaisen has taken over the anime world and finally broken into the mainstream, and of course was popular before, but now it's more than ever. But has any anime reached the peaks, matched the quality, and demonstrated anything that tops Jujutsu Kaisen this year is what we're going to be getting into today. And honestly, I think it'd be easy to break this down into the 3 best anime of this year by far, besides Jujutsu Kaisen of course. Number 1 is of course Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga had some of the best character moments of the year and some of the best story moments we've seen in anime ever. Number 2, the conclusion of Attack on Titan, of course. I mean, come on, Attack on Titan dominated everything. Attack on Titan is one of the greatest anime of all time, and in some eyes, the greatest. And number 3, I mean, it's gotta be Boruto, right? Boruto took over anything. We had Kawaki killing Boruto. Boruto came back. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Alright, number 3 is obviously One Piece. We saw Gear 5, Zoro vs. King, Sanji vs. Queen. What else do I need to name? It's One Piece. It'll always be in these conversations. So, let's get into the first one, being Vinland Saga. How does Jujutsu Kaisen compare to Vinland Saga? What does it do better? What does it do worse? Which overall was better? Well, like we were saying, Vinland Saga was this weird transitionary period for Thorfinn. And a lot of fans felt the beginning was boring, and some people thought it was really deep. It's kind of like those cringe people that hate on Avengers movies, and they talk about wanting these deep story and narrative moments, and those were the people defending season 2. And honestly, I'm in this weird in between. It was well written seeing Thorfinn going through that process and how he was learning more about himself, the fact that he realized he had no purpose and he didn't know who he was or what he was doing. Some of the saddest moment when she dies, and then when you see his rage and you notice that Thorfinn is reacting to these things in different way. You also have Leaf looking after Thorfinn, and there's honestly a lot of funny moments too. And let's be real, Vinland Saga season 2 created some amazing memes. But how does it compare to Jujutsu Kaisen? Now, at the point of recording, season 2 isn't done, but Sukuna is gone, and we can tell where the narrative is going. And I honestly think the placement of Gojo's backstory with Geto in the beginning has really elevated the stakes of this season. How they wrote Gojo out of the show was extremely smart, and it felt natural, which is what's most important. It really feels natural for Gojo to be out of the story. Seeing him crumble at the face of Geto after seeing the backstory, it was incredible placement. You really feel like that could have happened. Now we're seeing some insane moments. We see every opportunity Megumi was willing to risk his life in order to die and save everyone. We see Itadori struggling with the fact that Sukuna took over his body and killed everyone, but he still has to go on, so we're not going to be stuck in this point where Itadori doesn't know what to do. And there was a lot of really good moments, but ultimately, why I would put Jujutsu Kaisen over Vinland Saga is the fact that Vinland Saga felt like it was building up to these moments to the end of the show, which is common for these narrative shows, I know, but at some point, there was at least 2 or 3 episodes too much of them just cutting down trees. It was just too much. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to get killed for this in the comments. It was just a little too stale for me, and it built up. Of course, I Have No Enemies was incredible. Of course, the action sequences were incredible. The last 6 episodes were great, and the Canute section of that show was amazing. But you have to think, we are literally comparing 9 to 10 out of 10s. All 3 of these are 9 to 10 out of 10 animes, so of course, when putting one over the other, it is going to be picking hairs. And honestly, for me, if you compare narrative and you compare animation, you compare just normal entertainment, I would have to put Jujutsu Kaisen over Vinland Saga. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna get killed for that. But moving on to Attack on Titan. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because the Attack on Titan ending was one of the most controversial endings ever in terms of the manga, but in the anime form, it was way better. I mean, let's be real. That music, we were really popping out there, and then that crisp animation, that sky, I don't even know what shade of green that is, but all of those sequences looked incredible. It was this grand finale to what has been one of the greatest stories ever told, and it shows that everything was foreshadowed from the beginning, and everything was thought of from the beginning. But there's some moments you can contest that maybe didn't make the most sense. No one really died. Reiner is literally the craziest plot armor titan of all time. You could have dropped a nuke on that man, and somehow, some way, he would have sat there feeling sorry for himself and powered up and leveled up again and survived. Eren's explanation as to why he did what he did and Armin just accepting like that was really weird. Zeke versus Levi, you blink and you miss it. I really was disappointed in that. Like, come on, you have Zeke and Levi, and that's how it's gonna end. Zeke just all of a sudden getting up and going when Armin talks to him was a little weird. I guess you could say that he had been there for eternity and something different finally happened. I don't want that. Okay, I don't want that because it created some amazing memes. Eren turning into a bird. There's a lot of moments you can contest. Convoluted at the end of the day. A lot of the action sequences, on the other hand, were great, and how they played into the story may not have been Boruto level, but they were still pretty good too. And seeing Mikasa kill Eren hit so hard. Seeing Eren pop up out of his like shell skeleton form was crazy. Seeing him march onto them, the rumbling in the animation scene with the baby is probably one of the best scenes of this year. Look, I know that's terrible to say because this baby was almost about to die, but it really put into context the severity of what was going on and how insane Eren was and the lengths he was willing to go. Eren is just batshit crazy. Like, that dude is insane. The Joker would see Eren and then rethink all of his life choices and maybe become normal. That's how crazy Eren was going. But how does it compare to Jujutsu Kaisen? Jujutsu Kaisen tells a lot simpler of a story. It's not trying to pull anything off that's nearly as crazy as Attack on Titan. But first of all, the fight scenes are probably better, to be honest. The animation is probably better in Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, does that come at the expense of these MAPPA employees? Yeah. And no, on all seriousness, like, that is insane. Because when you know about currency, they're probably not even getting paid that much, but they have done an incredible job. And just knowing what their vision was, and hearing them say they're not even fully executing on their vision, puts into context how crazy it is. But at the same time, you have Itadori, who's starting to become more the main character, and I feel like at the point of recording, the next episodes are going to be a lot more Itadori focused. Seeing Nanami has also elevated him as a side character, and the difference in story is a lot of the characters in Attack on Titan are reacting to things in the world, whereas Jujutsu Kaisen is a more character-based story. So when you're seeing Megumi willing to risk his life, when you're seeing Nobara willing to risk her life, seeing Gojo feel a tug at his heart when he sees Geto, when you're seeing how Geto's followers were willing to go after him, it really puts in the context that people care in this world. I'm not trying to say the story is better in any way, but it's not trying to pull anything off as crazy. So when you take those factors like animation, setting, world into account, it does in a way elevate what Jujutsu Kaisen has done this year for me. And remember, this is just for 2023. Attack on Titan, of course, overall is better than Jujutsu Kaisen. And honestly, Wit probably has animated better than MAPPA has this season. Hot take, calm down. I know. So moving on to One Piece. There's a huge caveat I need to say about One Piece before I get into the details. I am a manga reader and have made hundreds of videos on One Piece. I know everything about the story, so my perspective on it is a little skewed. But overall, Gear 5 was sick, and the animation style was sick, and the fluid style and the really goofy moments landed for me at times, but at other times I was like, this is a bit weird. Obviously, Zoro vs. King is pinnacle and hype. I don't think anything would top that this year. And it's also a character-driven story, so it is an apples-to-apples comparison. But there's a lot of things that happened in One Piece this year that didn't make the most sense. Green Bull pulling up was weird. Shanks pulled up to promote Film Red, if you know about the manga, as well as the fact that Luffy has to fight Kaido like 6 or 7 times to get to this point where he finally beats him, as well as the fact that we didn't get much of Old Wano, we didn't get much of lore dumps, and Zoro's backstory was completely written out of the story and forgotten about. Like, I guess it's not that big of a deal, but a lot of the Sanji moments with Robin were good too. Remember, it is just 2023, so a lot of the other lore moments aren't really taken into account here. You're looking at the conclusion. So I think Jujutsu Kaisen, on the other hand, has told a way more complete story, and I actually prefer the animation style to Jujutsu Kaisen than One Piece. I honestly completely get it if people think One Piece is better than JJK this year, because they've both been great, and honestly, if I didn't read the manga, I might have thought Gear 5 topped it too. All in all, for me, I do think Jujutsu Kaisen has been the best anime of this year, barring Boruto, of course, and I don't think many people would dispute that. And seeing it break into the mainstream like it has, you're seeing it getting referenced by NFL players, NBA players, soccer players. It's really reached that next level, and honestly, anime Twitter and anime YouTube for Jujutsu Kaisen has been going crazy for everyone. It's all anyone wants to talk about, I think for good reason. You shouldn't feel that slighted to say that Jujutsu Kaisen has been better than One Piece this year, or Attack on Titan, or Vinland Saga. I think at some points, maybe story isn't the best, but you have to look at entertainment, and this feels a lot like the entertainment district arc of Demon Slayer season 2. At some point, you gotta say, yes, it is simply that good. So with that being said, I actually have 2 videos to recommend for you guys. 1 comparing One Piece to Attack on Titan, and 2 comparing Jujutsu Kaisen to One Piece. So go check those out, see which one I think are overall better, taking a more conclusive look at everything. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget, we're just gonna start it, we're gonna stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video.